I will describe in detail the 33rd verse of Chapter 1, Prathopadesh Rasmarana of the Rasayankhand. Rasayankhand. We're going to explore a really fascinating intersection of ancient Indian alchemy and historical metallurgy. Think of it like decoding a highly complex ancient recipe. But instead of baking a cake, we are looking at a highly structured technological process that was actually designed to transform raw elements into classical medicinal compounds. In this explainer, we'll walk through translating verse 33, the alchemical ingredients, the trituration process, the Garba Yantra apparatus, the dual heating ritual, and then concluding the process. Let's dive right into section 1, translating verse 33, and looking at our primary source material. To really ground our translation, let's look directly at the primary source material from the 1939 manuscript. On the left side of this page, right around verse 33, we find the specific methodology we're analyzing today. The text provides this categorized list of techniques for parad marena, which essentially means the processing of mercury to remove its raw toxic properties. We're focusing specifically on the Tritiya Prakara, or the third method. What's absolutely incredible here is that these texts outline processes so precise they actually rival early modern chemistry. This foundational verse establishes our base. In Roman transliteration, it reads, Shuddha Sutakapaga Syad Raganatamra Chornakam, Thanam Ekam Murdayadam lies Kshalitam Pishti Maharate. When we look at the Anvaya, the logical syntax of the Sanskrit, the text explicitly links pure mercury, or Shuddha Sutaka, with equal parts copper powder. So the simple English meaning is a very clear procedural directive. It says to combine equal parts of purified mercury and copper powder, grind them continuously with acidic plant juices for exactly 1 full day, wash the mixture, and finally, collect the resulting amalgam paste. Moving on to section 2, let's talk about the alchemical ingredients and their precise ratios. You see, ancient alchemy demanded precise mathematical ratios. The text specifies an exact 1-to-1 relationship between the liquid transition metal, mercury, and the solid transition metal, copper. We also introduced chakramard, which is known botanically as Cassia tora. It's an Ayurvedic herb whose juices provide the organic phytocompounds that are absolutely crucial for the next phase of the reaction. Ultimately, this specific combination aims to create compounds targeting severe ailments. But here's the catch. They were meant to be administered in extremely minute seed-sized dosages and taken alongside strict dietary formulas like mungusha, a green gram soup, and odon, a type of rice. Now, according to the text, a substance called mokshik sattva serves as a critical secondary ingredient. Historically speaking, mokshik refers to copper pyrite, and sattva is its extracted essence. Think of this like taking a raw plant and extracting just its pure essential oil, or maybe creating a highly concentrated modern bioavailable mineral supplement. From a metallurgical standpoint, adding this extracted essence introduces iron and sulfur into that mercury-copper matrix, which facilitates some very complex organometallic binding during the grinding phase. Section 3, the trituration process, also known as intensive mardana. We can see a strict chronological sequence here, known as mardana, and it culminates in a very intensive 3-day trituration process, using that chakramar juice we talked about. Now, in modern pharmaceutical science, this historical process is heavily researched. It's viewed as an ancient form of mechanochemistry and nanotechnology because it utilizes continuous friction to break down heavy metals into highly fine, biocompatible structures. But it wasn't just about chemistry. This intensive 3-day grinding also held a deep philosophical and tantric purpose. It was meant to purify not just the metal, but conceptually align the substance itself with therapeutic life forces. Next up, section 4, we look at the Garba Yantra apparatus. Right across the page from our primary verse, the text helpfully provides the exact engineering specifications for the Garba Yantra. Let's break that down. Garba translates to womb, and yantra means instrument, so this signifies a vessel that acts as a protective, sealed environment, much like a womb, incubating the chemical transformation that's happening inside. It's fascinating because we see similar, very precise apparatus engineering described in other foundational texts like the Rasarnava, the Rasendra Chudamani, and the principles are even cross-referenced within the Charka Samhita. Once the ground paste is ready, it's rolled into a ball and securely encapsulated inside this specifically measured earthen crucible. The specs are incredibly specific, exactly 4 fingers long and 3 fingers wide. The inside is then lined with a paste of salt and gugol, which is a natural resin. The purpose of this encapsulation is actually brilliant. The salt acts as a thermal conductor and a purifying agent, while the gugel tightly seals the earthen walls. This completely prevents the volatile mercury from vaporizing and escaping, creating a perfect microenvironment for the upcoming heat treatment. Section 5 is all about the dual heating ritual within the traditional Puketa system. Here we see the graded application of heat. The Garbha Yantra is first subjected to Tusani, which is a mild, smoldering fire made from rice husks, and that's applied for 3 whole days. Following this, it's exposed to Karishagani. This is a much hotter, much more intense cow dung fire, applied continuously, day and night. This perfectly illustrates the ancient thermal technological law of thermal configuration. It's kind of like slow roasting a delicate ingredient to initiate bonding, and then following it up with high-temperature broiling to finalize the chemical conversion. And finally, Section 6, concluding the process and looking at the final achieved state. So after the precise mixing, the days of mechanical grinding, the encapsulation, and that rigorous dual-stage heating, the text dictates that the encapsulated ball transforms into a refined ash. The verse explicitly claims basmatam vrajat. It attains the state of ash. But the big question is it safe? Well, modern researchers analyzing such classical claims on platforms like PubMed suggest that these processes theoretically convert raw heavy metals into stable organometallic sulfides and oxides, essentially complex nanoparticles. However, we have to be clear, modern scientific evidence strictly requires that such unproven historical claims of safety be subject to rigorous clinical testing before any human consumption. Improper preparation can lead to severe heavy metal toxicity, so it's not something to be taken lightly. It really makes you wonder, if they could engineer nanoparticles 1,000 years ago, what other lost scientific breakthroughs are hiding in plain sight within these ancient verses? On behalf of the Vedmata AI family, it is our humble request that if you found our presentation informative, please share a video as widely as possible so that the authentic knowledge of Indian Vedic texts can reach the masses. Come, let us all participate in this sacrifice of knowledge. Har Har